right, well, good afternoon. Welcome to the Transportation and Community Safety Commission meeting of April 9th, 2026. I will open the meeting. All commissioners are present except for Mr. Denman, and then we will begin with the pledge. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, our next item of business is oral communications.
None, just the one for 7, so
Okay.
I'll call it then.
All right, the next would be approval of minutes from the last meeting. Do I have a motion to approve? Okay, a second?
I'll second.
Okay, I'm going to open the voting.
I think if you hit refresh. Oh, no. There, right there. There we go. Oh, you've got it. No, you're good. Let's see. Once you're good, then submit. There you go. Oh. So accepted.
You know what, that's okay. I'm going to manually do that because we're having issues with the system, so it is approved 6-0.
All right. Okay, next item, item number 2, approval of our engineering and traffic surveys.
I think that Mr. Shazad is going to speak, and I will operate the computers. Good afternoon, everybody. I'll start off. Welcome. Well, what a great turnout. Happy to have you here on a beautiful afternoon. So I'll turn it over to Ali.
Yeah, I can't control it. I have a private. Okay, there we go. All good. You want to probably go in presentation mode. Slideshow mode. Yeah, there you go. Awesome. So we have traffic surveys as usual to present to commission here. We have 5 segments in the city that we are bringing up for reevaluation, mostly because they have either expired within the 7 to 14 year period, or we have changed some signing and striping in the street. And some of these are because we did pavement rehab work and you've added bike lanes, and so we've had to go back and reevaluate those areas. So we want to make sure they reflect the updated conditions of the environment, and then surely update it to the CVC law and changes with the AB 43 changes, like CVC section 22, 356, 357, and 358. So generally what we do is we look at a sample of 50 vehicles in each direction, a total sample of 100, to evaluate the 85th percentile. Next slide. So we collect the data at a mid-block location, preferably, and then using the 100 sample, do the 85th percentile calculation and round it up to the nearest 85th. Next slide. So generally, overall rounding is, if it's 37 miles per hour, we round it down to 35. If it becomes 38, we round it up to 40. And then again, we have the CVC sections 6, 7, and 8 from AB 43, which let us either roll it down another 5 miles per hour based on if it's a safety corridor, or change it to that lower speed limit based on an ordinance. We usually take it in as a resolution to City Council once we have new speed surveys. Or we can retain the prior speed survey as is with the 358.8 California Vehicle Code. At this time, we have 5 sections that are up for renewal. Center City, the segments are as listed. Center City from Mission to 5th. It was previously 45, and we are going to recommend it to stay at 45 as the 86th percentile is 46. The second segment is Escondido Boulevard from Lincoln to Washington, and that's going to stay at the 35. It came in at 37, so rounding it down goes back to 35. The third segment is Escondido Boulevard between Washington to Grand, and that landed back again at what it used to be at 35. And the fourth one is Quince from Valley Parkway to 9th Avenue, and that again also is at 35 as it was before. The new one is rounded down, which is Rock Springs from Lincoln Avenue to the city limits, which is north over the bridge going over the 78 and onto Rock Springs. So that section is going to be rounded down to 30 due to CVC section 22358.7. And that actually helps us because some of the section over the bridge is the Caltrans right-of-way and have sharrows on the bridge, and we have some sharrows that were previously put in. So it actually legalizes us to make sure that the sharrows are at a 30 speed limit from a 35, because that's the new law change. You have to have 30 miles per hour speed limit to have sharrows on a roadway. And there's some sections of Lincoln Avenue, Rock Springs between Lincoln and Washington that we had to put bike lanes in. So, and there's some spots there that we probably need to go back and put some sharrows as the road isn't wide enough for bike lanes. So at this time, recommending to Commission to certify the proposed speed limits, 4 speed limits to retain posted limits, and 1 speed survey for a new segment recertification with the ordinance or resolution as we take it to council. Any discussion? Questions, discussions?
I'd just like to confirm the section of Rock Springs between Lincoln Avenue and the city limits, that's going northbound on Rock Springs from Lincoln to the city limits. City limits is approximately where the 15 overcrossing is, approximately right in there? Okay.
Correct, yeah. Starts at Washington, goes all the way north over the bridge, and where Lincoln Avenue is past the bridge.
So is it north of Lincoln, or is it
Stops at
still
Lincoln.
south of Lincoln?
I think, yeah, it stops at Lincoln.
Okay, yeah, I don't really understand that then, because
I-
Lincoln starts just north of the bridge over the 78, and then the city limits, right, is like approximately where the 15 overcrossing is. Is that correct? And it's
Yeah, I see why it should have said Washington Avenue to Lincoln Avenue.
Okay, all right,
It's
that's a
edit, yeah,
different
our
segment.
bad.
Okay.
Okay.
The
I
report.
was confused.
There's only
as-
one, there's only one speed survey for all of Rock Springs?
All of
I
that's-
thought there was Rock Springs from Washington to Lincoln, and then.
That
Lincoln
is
to
correct,
city limits.
Washington to Lincoln. Yeah, we just did one in that segment.
So the section from Lincoln north to San Marcos, near the school, that's 35.
Yeah.
Should we somehow correct this before we vote on it? Because there's like a different segment on here that we're voting on. Are we voting on Washington to Lincoln or Lincoln to the city limits?
We have it's from Washington Avenue to Lincoln Avenue. We can correct it. If you note it in the minutes, we can correct it.
Okay.
It's an edit by our.
Oh, I see. So, but when you included the full speed survey details further in the packet, that has it, that's all correct. That shows Rock Springs from Lincoln to Washington.
Can we toggle
That's the
down to the speed
segment.
survey? I know we have it in there.
I don't, is it in?
Did we include it in the? It's in the
I don't
staff
think it's
report.
in here.
Okay, yeah. I didn't bring the staff report with me.
Serena, can you handle that in the minutes? Thank you. Any other questions?
Yeah, so it is correct in the speed survey. It's from Lincoln Avenue to Washington Avenue.
Okay.
It's in the staff report. We can correct that on, this table is incorrect.
Okay. So to clarify, yeah, the speed survey is correct that we would send to city council to say we're changing the speed limit from 35 to 30 between Washington and Lincoln. There's a separate speed survey for Rock Springs north of Lincoln up to the city limits, and we're not dealing with that
Not
today.
dealing with that right now.
Are we voting?
Any other questions? Okay, then yes, I have a motion to approve the speed surveys and take the one change in speed limit to city council.
I'll second.
Opening the voting. And it's approved 5-0.
Okay, thank you. All right, item 3,
Thank you.
the CATS project update.
So we have quite a bit of news to share with you regarding cats. I have duplicated a few slides in here because we have some new members that aren't familiar with cats. Yeah. As Ali says, how come we're doing cats but we're not doing dogs? So, yeah.
We have our dogs now. It's called the design of,
He actually showed
Grand
me a picture
signals,
today of a cat
DOGS, yeah.
walking down the
I made
sidewalk.
that
He
up.
says, this is what we're doing this for. So, and I won't go through all of this, but basically, CATS is a roadmap for the development and implementation of active and sustainable transportation options for Escondido. By and large, it's understanding how people get around the city, improving travel opportunities for all ages, basically 8 to 80s, improving the quality of life, improving safety, particularly those walking, rolling, and biking, foster a healthy community, improve the aesthetics of public spaces, create a more vibrant city, improve economic vitality, and integrate concepts into the general plan mobility element. If you recall, if you've ever, 13 years ago, the city updated their general plan, a mobility element. It had a lot of information, a lot of statements in there about making the city more walkable, more bikeable, more complete streets, and this is following up on that directive. The team has actually been working on this for almost 2 years. It's been delayed a bit, honestly, because of workload from our end. I think they would have gotten done sooner had we been able to devote a little more time to it, but I think that we're in a good place here, and actually, we're in a great place. They've done a lot of community outreach. The team also did a community transportation needs assessment, which actually looked at disadvantaged areas in the city and the kinds of transportation needs that they required and would benefit from. They've done an existing policy and procedures review. They did a pretty extensive inventory of what we have, loaded all that into GIS. We have a quite impressive sidewalk gap identification, as the GIS system shows where literally all the sidewalk gaps are in the city, and I will tell you there are quite a few. And then have actually identified a prioritization on how we could address in a methodical way some of those gaps, prioritization system. And it seems to be working pretty well. They've developed a bicycle and pedestrian level of service methodology. They haven't developed this methodology, but they've applied a nationally accepted analysis of all of our streets and how they work for different levels of cyclists. It's a pretty impressive system. School-based walk audits, we did some key locational walk audits, transit baseline assessment, looking at our transit system and what we might be able to do to improve that. Looked at the street network, looked at classifications according to the mobility element. There will be a few streets that we can downgrade from the way that they were originally envisioned 13 years ago in the general plan. They've drafted a future bike network. They did a safe routes to school assessment. We'll talk about it in a minute. And then they have done a kind of a preliminary goals and policies review from the mobility element. Again, kind of the language in the 2012 version got somewhat repetitive, and they've done a good job of kind of consolidating that. We'll share a lot of that with you in the next meeting. And what I'm going to drive on, walk on, bike on, in the next few slides is mostly safe routes to school assessment. We talked about that at the last meeting, or the meeting in August, that we had envisioned this work to be used for the TMPL program moving forward. You, as a body, ask us, staff, to ask council for additional funds to be able to make better headway. I'm not going to go through this whole slide here about what all they did for outreach. It is important that these community presentations were done, as well as these school-focused outreach. Literally, there were quite a few meetings done, virtual listening sessions, as well as in-person walk audits at a lot of the schools around the region, and then they created those individual plans that we had talked about back in August. This list is pretty extensive, as we said. They went through and created a list for every school and the kinds of improvements that could, or they would like, that these schools would like to see made at each location. That list, as we talked about, there's 33 different school plans that we talked about. The list was pretty extensive. Near-term improvements are kind of viewed as life safety improvements. We're about just under $2 million. The cost of everything, if we were to choose to do all those things, was $44 million. So pretty substantial list. So we took that list, and in the meeting in August had asked the commission to think about how to apply this list of life safety improvements. The team came up with a methodology of trying to do at least one of these intersection improvements at schools in each one of the council districts. We based that analysis on collisions and pedestrian volumes, and then functional classification from the roadway layer. And this slide shows you where the collisions around the city, and then pedestrian counts for each of those crossings. We were pretty confident and comfortable with that methodology. Ended up with, and this is a repeat, but an abbreviated version, crossings done at these 4 locations, and the total added up to $85,000. Now, you remember that we only had $50,000 a year to spend. Frankly, in some years, it was difficult to identify projects that were good candidates to use that money. But now that we have this pretty extensive list, it's, now we don't have enough money. So we, at your direction, went back to council and asked them for additional funds to pay for that $85,000 that we had proposed to them in January and that we had talked to you about in August. And great news. I think that we met around the 10th of January, and then we took this to council 4 days later. Council did approve an additional $35,000 for the 25-26 program, which were those 4 intersections, and they did happily increase the funding for future years to $200,000, which was the upper end of the recommendation that the group offered, and I think we'll thank Bill for being bold and throwing that number out there. Sorry that Bill isn't here anymore. So then so they did admit, and just to explain a little bit about how it worked, the $50,000 annual came out of gas tax money, okay? So the council really is very favorable toward traffic safety and improving traffic safety conditions around the city, and they're wanting to use the Measure I funds, the sales tax money, to show that interest. So we have the existing $50,000 from gas tax, and they added another $35,000 from Measure I. And then in future years, and there wasn't any sunset to these years, they added another $150,000 for Measure I and beyond. So then, again, capitalizing and realizing honestly how interested council was in improving traffic safety, we moved ahead and put a request in to the mid-year budget for that 1.9 million of life safety improvements. That 1.9 was approved by council on March 4th. So then that provides a $1.9 million pot of funds to address those improvements that were identified at those 35 schools. Now, it's just the short-term stuff. It's the life safety things. You know, as you know, there's a bigger pot going out. So that money is effective. That money's available for us now. Just to give you a quick overview, there were maybe 233 projects or something total. The numbers are a little bit staggering. 332 crosswalk legs, meaning a leg being, an east approach and a north approach and a west and a south. So it's not every intersection had, 4 legs. So it works out to about 100 intersections. There are another 187 striping locations, and that included advanced yield bars and advanced stop bars and red curb and things like that, and stencils, projects like that. 92 signs, that might be stop signs, might be no parking signs, a number of different things. And then there were a host of other things in there, like flex posts for delineating a waiting zone, or RRFBs, rectangular rapid flashing beacons, curb ramps, signal timing, changing signal timing, at an intersection to provide better crossing times for pedestrians, stop sign warrants, enforcement, things like that. So it was a boatload of stuff. So how are you going to ever get that done, you ask, right? So the fortunate thing, and I think Ali is going to talk about the engineering on-call that we're currently working on, but we're fortunately pretty far ahead in that on-call effort, so we don't have to start that right now, but we will be writing task orders to start on, right out of the gate, to include specifics and hiring probably 2 different firms, because the number of projects, to measure the length of crosswalks, evaluate the pavement to make sure it's in good enough shape to take crosswalk striping. Those are generally thermoplastic, which is one reason why they're so expensive. And then if they have to grind off old stripes and things like that. So they'll do that analysis, they'll put together those bid documents. Hopefully that we will press these folks to get the engineering work done quickly, and then we'll set up bids to do that striping work. And the target is to try to get all that done by the end of the year. So it's an aggressive schedule. All of us realize that. So remaining work for CATS, we hope to wrap the whole thing up by the summer. They'll be finalizing and kind of fine-tuning the bike network. They're in the middle of identifying priority projects, and then conducting some outreach in April and May coming up to kind of present those priority projects to the public. You all obviously will get invitations to those outreach sessions as well. Now, I will say that, the 44 million was school projects. So there will be another big chunk of projects for active transportation in general. So, I mean, just for example, the filling in the sidewalk gaps around the city is going to be quite expensive. The bike lane depends on how it goes. The team is being extremely sensitive to things that we're sensitive about, like removing parking and things like that. So one of the reasons why we're looking at whether or not the streets are totally utilized is whether or not there's an opportunity to grab some of that excess space and use it for either buffered bike lanes or cycle tracks or something like that. So we're pleased to be able to see the end goal on this project, but the next thing that happens is we start implementing those projects. So we've got our work cut out for us. So anyway, that's questions.
Thank you, Craig. That was very detailed information. I was just going to say that I watched the city council meeting back in January when we got approval for the 200,000, which was very exciting. But I did not know about the 1.9 million until I read this agenda. So I was floored by that, and it's exciting to see the city council really be behind traffic safety and allocate funds for that.
You know, the one thing that is a little, you have to be determined how we handle it, is that the TMPL still wants to pull from that list. So now that council has approved the 1.9 for basically primarily crosswalks, that allows the TMPL project to dig a little bit deeper into that list, a little bit beyond the life safety stuff. So those, as we were working on the program, it was, it's life safety, it's and they want to call it low-hanging fruit. That's a term that consultants use a lot, at least from the planning perspective. It's the things that can be done quickly and show progress, and we know that council is interested in that and seeing literally paint on the ground. So that's where we're going first. But the TMPL will go deeper into those projects, and it'll be a challenge trying to figure out how we want to spend that $200,000 each year,
right.
so.
Yeah, that was my follow-up question was, so the 85,000 was for those projects we've already identified. So going forward is 200,000.
Yes.
When will that next cycle start for our now 200,000? Because it's
know-
usually, I know, like usually we start in April and then kind of July finalize, but we're, got a
I
lot
would
on your plate here.
say that we really, if we are consistent with previous years, we'll be coming back to you in July with a proposed list for that 200,000.
Okay.
I'm looking at these two guys too. So, other questions? What do you think, Roy? Are we going the right direction?
You're
with
doing a
schools?
great job. I appreciate it. It's good information.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, very good, Craig and Ollie. You guys are doing a good job.
Thank you.
You want me to add a little about the consultants?
Say what?
Give an overview on the consultants
I think you were going to talk about that later on.
later on, or
The on-call?
Okay,
Yeah. At least that's what Matt and I talked about.
okay, that's fine.
Yeah, you've got a number of oral items to share with the
Yeah.
group, right?
Yeah, that's,
Okay, next item is implementation of AB 382. And Matt handling that one, good. Did everybody meet, Matt? Did you?
I did, yeah.
Okay.
Alrighty, good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair, Commissioners, and members of the public. My name is Matthew Edgeworth, Associate Traffic Engineer with the City of Escondido. Very nice to meet you all and glad to be working with you on traffic safety and mobility projects here in the city. So today I will be presenting item 4, which is the implementation of Assembly Bill 382, allowing for a 20 miles per hour speed limit zone in school zones. The presentation today will begin with a background on California Assembly Bill 382, also known as AB 382. I will then cover the city's proposed citywide implementation approach, including an anticipated timeline. Next, I will discuss planned public outreach efforts. And then last, I will conclude with a recommended action for the Commission's consideration. AB 382 was signed into law on October 10, 2025 to improve pedestrian safety in school zones. The bill reduces the existing school zone speed limit from 25 miles per hour to 20 miles per hour when children are present. The goal of the bill is to enhance safety for students walking and biking to and from school. AB 382 requires statewide implementation and enforcement by January 1st of 2031. At that time, all local agencies must comply with the 20 miles per hour school zone speed limit. This table compares school zone speed limits across several U.S. states. As shown, AB 382 would bring California's school zone speed limit into alignment with many comparable states with lower school zone speeds. AB 382 allows local agencies to adopt the 20 miles per hour school zone speed limit in advance of the statewide deadline through the adoption of an ordinance or resolution. Early adoption of the lower school zone speed limit would allow the City of Escondido to, 1, proactively address traffic safety concerns in school areas by helping to reduce speeds during student drop-off and pickup. 2, enhance safety prior to the statewide implementation deadline of January 1st, 2031. And then last, align with other local agencies here in the County of San Diego who have also taken steps towards implementing AB 382. Implementing the new school zone speed limit will require updating existing signage citywide. Staff has completed a review of all existing school zones and identified locations where the 20 miles per hour school zone speed limit can be applied. If recommended by the Commission today and approved by City Council in the coming months, staff anticipates installing all required signage by the end of the year. AB 382 also includes provisions for potential reimbursement from the state of California related to the implementation of the bill. Staff intends to track both time and materials and submit a reimbursement claim subject to state approval to recover eligible expenses. The map shown on this slide identifies all public and private schools within the city limits that currently have a marked school zone where the 20 miles per hour school zone speed limit can be implemented. Staff is proposing to include a public outreach component as part of the implementation of AB 382, which would include the following: posting information about the new 20 miles per hour school zone speed limit on the city's website and social media platforms to reach the general public, notifying and coordinating with local school districts and private schools within the city, and then lastly, collaborating with school officials to help distribute information to parents through both school newsletters and email communication. The recommended action before you this afternoon is to review and approve the staff recommendation to bring forward an ordinance to City Council to adopt a uniform 20 miles per hour school zone speed limit consistent with the provisions of AB 382 prior to the statewide implementation deadline. That concludes my presentation. Staff is available for any questions. Thank you.
I do have a quick question. So in your presentation, is this going to be a direct replacement for what is existing now, or will you be also re-engineering or engineering some additional signage where there's not one there?
Thank you, Commissioner. It's going to be a direct replacement of all the existing 25 mile per hour school zone speed limit signs and changing them to 20 miles per hour. So no new additional school zones are being proposed at this time.
Okay. I also have a related follow-up question. The language you said that where it can be implemented, are there school zone locations where for some reason it cannot be implemented, or is that just the vague language to say we're doing it everywhere there is a 25 miles an hour?
Thank you, Chair. Yes, we are planning to do it everywhere we have an existing school speed limit zone.
Okay. And am I correct, it's just signage? We don't have any locations where there's pavement markings of the 25 mile an hour?
We could potentially have pavement legends that have the 25 mile per hour speed limit. We would have to, of course, change the 5 to a 0. Correct, yeah.
Okay, so that would be included with this?
Correct, yes.
I think I may want to add, what we'll probably do is get a retroreflective sticker to just stick over the 5 with a 0, because it's going to be very expensive to replace all of the signs all over the city. Only signs that the retroreflectivity has gone bad would be the ones that we would change out to a brand new sign. So that's a quick fix for us.
Did I take it correctly that there's going to be full reimbursement for all the expenses?
Thank you, Commissioner. So there is language within the bill itself that says because this is a state-mandated program, that there is a potential for the state to reimburse local agencies for any costs associated with the implementation of this bill.
Yeah, that's something we'll have to look into, fiscal responsibility if the state is actually going to, fund cities to replace that. I'm not aware of that yet.
I have a quick question. So in regards to my question earlier, there was a member of the public that came in regarding the church, Calvin Christian Church at Vista. I drove that road coming from, I think, Ash, going to Broadway, and I noticed that there were no school signs. So I'm going from east to west. So if you can take a look at that, I'd appreciate that. Thank you.
We'll definitely take a look at that, Commissioner.
All right, any other questions or comments?
Are all the schools listed on this one graph that's, or are there some that might not be? Because I don't see, Classical Academy, I think, has like a school that's off of Bear Valley Parkway and like Mary Lane or a little north of there. I didn't see that on there. Maybe I just missed it, or,
Yeah, I mean, usually we do all the Escondido Union School District.
oh, there it is.
So,
Okay, all right, thank you.
You know, these might be, yeah, Classical Academy is a private entity, actually.
Okay, I see it grouped together. It's
down
with
there.
LR Green, Bear Valley Middle School, and the Classical Academy. Okay, I didn't see it was grouped together in three. Okay, thank you.
All right, if there's no other questions or comments, I'll take a motion to approve the recommendation that we go to City Council to adopt the new ordinance for a 20-mile-per-hour speed zone.
I'll second motion.
And it's approved 5-0.
All right, next is agenda item 5, all-way stop control at Juniper and El Dorado.
Alrighty, good afternoon again, Chair, Vice Chair, Commissioners, members of the public. I'm Matthew Edgeworth, Associate Traffic Engineer with the city. I will be presenting item 5, which is the consideration of an all-way stop control at the intersection of Juniper Street and El Dorado Drive, along with proposed traffic calming measures along Juniper Street. I'll begin with a brief overview of the presentation. First, I'll provide background on the request that led to this item. I'll then give an overview of Juniper Street, El Dorado Drive, and the intersection of the two streets, including previous collision data. Following that, I'll walk through the proposed all-way stop control at the intersection. Next, I'll discuss the proposed traffic calming measures along Juniper Street. And then last, I'll conclude with staff's recommendation for the Commission's consideration. In 2025 and early 2026, staff received multiple community concerns regarding vehicle speeds and overall traffic safety along Juniper Street, with a strong emphasis on the intersection of Juniper Street and El Dorado Drive. In response to these concerns, staff conducted a traffic engineering study focused on two key areas. The first one being evaluating the existing traffic control at the Juniper Street and El Dorado Drive intersection. And the second one, identifying potential traffic calming measures along Juniper Street. This presentation today will summarize the community concerns and present staff's findings and recommendations based on the engineering analysis. Juniper Street, south of Felicita Avenue, through the city limits, is classified as a local collector roadway in the city's circulation element. It has a posted speed limit of 35 miles per hour with a 25 mile per hour school zone at Juniper Elementary School. The street has limited on-street parking where pavement width allows and a limited Class 2 bike facility near the school. The street experiences a significant level of traffic during school drop-off and pickup periods. Likewise, El Dorado Drive is also classified as a local collector roadway in the city's circulation element. The posted speed limit is 25 miles per hour between Juniper Street and Encino Drive and increases to 35 miles per hour between Encino Drive and Bear Valley Parkway. Street level views of each intersection approach at Juniper Street and El Dorado Drive is shown here. The green X represents a view from the southbound approach on Juniper. The blue X represents the northbound view on Juniper Street. Lastly, the red X represents the approach on El Dorado Drive coming up to the T intersection. A collision diagram was prepared to show the types and patterns of collisions that have occurred at the intersection over the past several years. There have been a total of 5 reported collisions involving right-of-way violations, which occur when a vehicle fails to yield to another vehicle with legal precedence. These right-of-way collisions are shown in blue and red on the collision diagram. It is important to note 4 of these collisions, depicted in red, involve left turn movements from El Dorado Drive onto southbound Juniper Street. Lastly, there has been 1 reported side swipe collision which occurred on southbound Juniper Street, which is shown in green. This slide compares sight distance looking south from El Dorado Drive toward Juniper Street. The photo on the left from September of 2025 shows limited visibility prior to vegetation trimming performed by the city, while the photo on the right from February of 2026 shows improved sight distance after trimming. Although the sight lines have improved for the approach on El Dorado Drive, seasonal vegetation regrowth has the potential to restrict visibility again in the future. Also considering the previous collision history involving left turns from El Dorado Drive onto Juniper Street, staff recommends installation of an all-way stop pursuant to California MUTCD, otherwise known as the Manual on Uniform Traffic Control Devices, Warrant B, with regards to limited sight distance. The proposed layout of the all-way stop at the intersection is shown here, with the 2 new stop approaches added onto Juniper Street. If the all-way stop is approved, staff also recommends adding stop-ahead signage and pavement legends to provide advance warning given the absence of other all-way stops along this portion of Juniper Street. Both the signage and pavement legends will help alert drivers, especially those unfamiliar with the area. In addition to the intersection analysis, the community requested an evaluation of traffic calming along Juniper Street. While the proposed all-way stop will help reduce speeds by introducing a stopping point, staff also recommends additional traffic calming measures along the corridor, which include the following: edge-line striping between Felicita Avenue and the city limits to visually narrow down the roadway and encourage lower speeds, speed limit pavement legends to reinforce the posted speed limit and increase driver awareness, curve ahead warning signage to alert drivers of the change in roadway geometry and provide an advance reminder to reduce speeds, and then lastly, implementation of AB 382 to reduce the existing school zone speed limit down to 20 miles per hour, which the Commission has taken action on with the previous item. These before and after images show how edge-line striping will visually narrow down the travel lane on Juniper Street and help to lower travel speeds. Here we have an example of a speed limit pavement legend in addition to the proposed curve ahead signage with the advisory speed plaques of 30 miles per hour. The recommended action before the Commission this afternoon is to review and approve staff's recommendation and direct that the proposed all-way stop control at the intersection of Juniper Street and El Dorado Drive, along with the traffic calming measures along Juniper Street, be forwarded to the City Council for consideration. That concludes my presentation. Staff is available for any questions. Thank you.
Any questions or comments? All righty, well, thank you for your presentation. Do I have a motion to approve?
I'll motion to approve.
I'll second. Okay.
the voting. And approved 5-0.
All right, item 6, traffic safety improvements in South Elm and Hickory neighborhood.
The next item before the commission this afternoon is traffic safety improvements in the South Elm and Hickory neighborhood. This afternoon's presentation will cover the following items. First, I'll provide some background on the request itself. Next, I'll give an overview of the South Elm and Hickory neighborhood. I'll then review the proposed traffic safety improvements that staff is proposing today. And then last, I'll conclude with staff's recommendation for commission's consideration. So background on this item, in January of 2026, so earlier this year, city staff received a concern from a resident regarding elevated vehicle speeds and pedestrian safety along South Grape Street. In response, staff expanded the review beyond this single roadway and conducted a comprehensive evaluation of the entire South Elm and Hickory neighborhood. This broader neighborhood-wide approach allowed staff to better understand existing traffic patterns and identify opportunities for a more holistic safety improvement approach. This presentation will present staff's findings and recommendations. The South Elm and Hickory neighborhood is located in central Escondido, approximately half a mile from the Grand Avenue Business District. The neighborhood is bounded by Grand Avenue to the north, Date Street to the east, and Fifth Avenue to the south. The area is zoned residential, consisting mainly of single-family homes with some low-density multifamily housing. Due to limited sidewalk connectivity, pedestrians often walk within the roadway, which was a key consideration in staff safety evaluation. Shown here are the limits of the South Elm and Hickory neighborhood highlighted in orange. I'll now walk the commission through staff's evaluation process. First, staff conducted a neighborhood-wide review of intersection and street conditions throughout the neighborhood. Second, field observations identified several issues, including locations with limited sight distance and a lack of sidewalk facilities. Based off of these observations, staff developed a list of recommended improvements. In late February, staff met on-site with several residents, including the neighborhood president, to review the draft recommendations and gather feedback. Finally, staff incorporated the community input received into the final set of recommended improvements being presented today. This slide summarizes the proposed side street stop sign locations at select T intersections, also known as three-leg intersections within the neighborhood. Stop signs are proposed on the minor approach at the following locations. First one being the westbound approach on East 2nd Avenue at the intersection with South Hickory Street. The next one being the westbound approach on East 3rd Avenue at the intersection of South Hickory Street as well. And then lastly, staff is proposing a side street stop control for both the northbound and southbound approaches on South Elm Street at the intersection of East 3rd Avenue. Photos of the proposed side street stop locations are shown here at each of the locations, providing a before and after. This slide summarizes the proposed locations where existing side street stop controlled intersections are recommended for conversion to all-way stop control. Staff is recommending all-way stop control at 6 intersections, primarily due to restricted sight distance for drivers on certain approaches. These 6 locations were evaluated based off of field observations, intersection geometry, and operational characteristics. The 6 locations include East 4th Avenue and South Hickory Street, East 4th Avenue and South Grape Street, East 4th Avenue and South Fig Street, East 4th Avenue and South Elm Street, East 2nd Avenue and South Grape Street, and then the last proposed all-way stop intersection is at East 3rd Avenue and South Fig Street. The proposed all-way stop locations are identified by the blue squares on this exhibit. All currently operate as a side street stop-controlled intersection at the moment. Staff identified 3 mid-block locations with limited sight distance due to steep vertical curves. At these locations, staff recommends advanced warning signage, including hill blocks view signs, coupled with 15-mile-per-hour advisory speed plaques, as well as stop-ahead warning signs to improve driver awareness and reaction time. In addition, while the neighborhood operates under a 25-mile-per-hour speed limit per the California Vehicle Code, there are currently no posted speed limit signs within the area. Given that the neighborhood is bordered by Grand Avenue and Date Street, both signed at 35 miles per hour, staff recommends installing 25-mile-per-hour speed limit signs at key neighborhood entry points, including Grand Avenue, Date Street, 5th Avenue, and Juniper Street, to better reinforce the lower residential speed environment as drivers transition into the neighborhood. One of the comments that staff received during our on-site meeting with the residents involved evaluating an existing pedestrian crossing located at East 2nd Avenue and South Hickory Street. As part of the overall recommendation, staff is proposing several improvements to this existing crossing to better enhance pedestrian visibility and encourage lower vehicle speeds. The upgrades include installation of rectangular rapid flashing beacons, which activate when a pedestrian pushes the push button, refreshing the existing striping, adding delineators to the intersection to better channelize traffic and encourage lower approach speeds leading to the crossing, and then last, trimming vegetation that is currently obstructing existing signage. Lastly, staff is also proposing new red curb at 2 locations that were requested for evaluation by the community. One to prevent vehicles from blocking a crossing area located on Grand Avenue, and the other to improve sight distance at an intersection. In conclusion, these improvements are recommended to enhance both traffic operations and pedestrian safety while providing appropriate traffic calming consistent with the residential character of the South Elm and Hickory neighborhood. The recommended action for Commission's consideration is to approve staff's recommendation and forward the proposed traffic safety improvements, including the new stop locations, to the City Council for consideration. This concludes my presentation. Staff is available for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation. I don't know if I'm the only one, but I find this kind of overwhelming. There's just a lot of different stop signs and intersections that we're evaluating to see if it's appropriate to have a stop sign there. And then, it started by just, okay, we're just working within this block, the South Elm Hickory neighborhood group, but some of the projects are outside of that square. The pedestrian walkway at 2nd and Grand is not in even that neighborhood group that we were initially discussing. Things are outside of there. So I don't know. I just find that this is a lot. I can't really look at each one of these stop signs to see if they're appropriate. It's just kind of overwhelming how many are being asked for at the moment. Maybe it's just me, but.
My first thought was it was a lot. We're talking about a lot of stop signs there, but I recently went to go drive that neighborhood, and especially on 4th Avenue there, where a bunch of the four ways are going to go. Yeah, I think it's needed. Especially, I noted at going east on 4th Avenue, when you get to Elm, literally, to cross that street, you can't see anyone coming south on Elm Street. It's just so blocked. And so the visibility is a lot of what it is. So I at least agree on the ones on 4th Avenue there.
So I have a quick question on this too, because in your initial statement, you indicated in our package here that you had alleys and sidewalks that are missing and pedestrians walking in the street. What's your plan on mitigating some of that?
So definitely the proposed stop locations will definitely help in terms of lowering speeds. When we did meet out with the community, one of the concerns that was brought up is cut-through traffic. So these streets, their main goal is to carry traffic to and from the homes within the neighborhood. So as a result of what's being proposed this afternoon, staff is hoping to get that cut-through traffic back onto Grand Avenue, Date Street, and 5th Avenue, where it belongs, instead of having those vehicles cut through the neighborhood.
All right, thank you. And then the other question I have is, as Commissioner Lori Hadley said, that there was a section out there at Hickory and 2nd, okay? Down further from that, it's actually kind of a blind corner as you come up from the transition from Valley and Grand. As you drive up that road, it splits. And actually, this happened actually this morning on my way to Oak Hill Elementary. There was a car that thought that they could try to pass in front of me because he was going to go in the wrong way. He wanted to go to Grand, so he cut me off and went zipping up that hill. And now knowing about this, that sign that's right there at that corner of Valley and Grand, it shows a crosswalk. And when you look at that area, it shows you got a yield sign. It looks like a crosswalk. It's not there. It's actually further down toward the intersection of Valley and Grand. You don't see it in this picture. So if you pulled it up on Google Earth, you'll see what I'm saying. But there is a crosswalk, shows that it's there. And if you look at the area, you see the ADA cutouts in the sidewalk and the island, but it goes nowhere. So that's kind of misleading. So if you are going to bring in the flashing beacons for the crosswalk, if it's activated up there, this should be activated down here so that they know that there's somebody crossing up there, because as you're driving up that road, it's kind of a blind intersection. Yes, right there. And if you look there, you'll see the ADA cutouts, and it goes actually nowhere, and there's actually a crosswalk sign right there where the yield is.
Yeah. That seems to be an existing condition that's been there for a long time. Good observation. Maybe they shouldn't be crossing over. We can always install a no pedestrian barricade on the ramp on the sidewalk side, because they don't need to cross over into the median, and it's not ADA compliant over there. So it might have been existing there for decades before this area was reconfigured. But just to overall give you an update on the Hickory neighborhood, it's very similar to the old Escondido neighborhood where we did stop signs for traffic calming. And we comprehensively looked at the whole neighborhood where hills were blocking view because the substandard vertical curves, they were built in the 50s. All of these neighborhoods were built in the 40s and 50s, and there's a ridge line going through Escondido in that neighborhood where you got a lot of these curves. So that's why we wanted to make sure we not only just look at areas where they can improve it by stopping it, cutting and stopping the cut-through traffic area, and then improve the sight lines, or at least warn people when they're approaching the vertical curves that there's a stop going to be ahead on the other side. So it looks like a lot of stop signs, but a lot of them were existing, and a few, like Matthew mentioned, with the square blue dots, those are the ones that are going to become all-way, you know. So the red ones were all existing, and the green ones are proposed. So we didn't propose a whole lot more, just a few around the neighborhood scattered. And so this is, like I said, like the old Escondido neighborhood and the Tulip neighborhood over the years. Because all these streets are built in the 40s and 50s, they're all straight streets where people can speed up, you know, and it helps to slow traffic down, even though the stop signs are not meant to slow traffic down, they're to assign right away. But comprehensively looking, it does work out as good traffic calming method if you look at them, you know, staggering the intersections over which ones do need it all way or not. So
I do agree with you that this neighborhood could use some more signage. I do drive through this neighborhood a lot, heading toward Old Escondido or coming back from Old Escondido. But that being said, I know it needs additional signage. I just do feel overwhelmed by the amount that's being presented here, and especially since some of it is even outside of that South Elm and Hickory neighborhood grid. I'd like to kind of see it maybe just personally for me, I'd like to see it maybe broken down a little more instead of just giving, you know, an all okay to everything. I'd maybe like to see it broken down a little bit more. Then I just want to point on the collision history by intersection. Like I said, I agree that more signage would be good for this neighborhood, but 5 of the 10 accidents were into parked vehicles. I'm not sure if additional stop signs or whatever would help that, you know, sideswipe or hitting the parked vehicles. Some of it was DUI related. If you're DUI, you're going to be running a stop sign or, you know, just driving DUI, so that you're still going to be crashing. And then some of these, you know, I don't, like into the parked car isn't in the intersection, you know, so the parked car is going to be like just outside of the intersection when the DUI or non-DUI driver came and sideswiped or hit the parked car. So I said those collisions might possibly not be good indicators, you know, for the stop signage in those intersections. So.
I mean, usually people are speeding before they hit a parked car. So, you know, why would you be hitting a parked car? Other than DUIs, yeah, but we didn't identify how many were DUIs. So that's the idea behind, these are narrow streets. They're not really wide, 36 feet curb to curb. So if you're going a little too fast on them, yeah, you would hit a parked car.
All right. I like I said, I do drive through there a lot, and I mean, I have to really slow down and stop, even though there's no stop signs. I stop, I look, I
Right.
look again, and I look 3 times before I
Yeah.
proceed through those intersections, because somebody could be coming around, you know, coming down a hill or up a hill, or, I mean, you really have to proceed slowly through that area.
Yeah, and not everyone does. Not everyone does slow down enough. So I think that's a problem. And again, like I said before, a lot of it's visibility in that neighborhood for some reason. I know there was at 4th and Elm, there was 2 big vans right there on the corner. You could not see anything. And if someone was speeding up going south on Elm, they'd hit you if you went.
Well, and there's a lot of on-street parking in this neighborhood, right? Because the other residents are parking there, and despite the sunset law for the curves, often there's cars that are parked right up to the curve or, you know, in front of it to be able to block the view.
We can take a quick look at it. Maybe it's some red curbing that might be needed. Let's take a quick look what it looks like. Elm and 5th, you said?
4th.
4th.
4th and Elm, yeah, right there, there's no red. And 2 big vans right there on the north side. So you could not see, when you
Yeah.
turned your head up to look down Elm, you couldn't see anything.
You want to go on street view? Yeah, we can probably do like 20 feet of red curbing we don't even have ramps in this neighborhood, it's all curb. So wherever the curb return is, we can add that red curbing for sight lines. This is an always stop now in the future?
This is being proposed as an always
Okay,
stop.
that'll help,
correct?
but yeah, we could do a sight line for some of these, so we might have to go back and reevaluate.
A quick clarifying question. Do we need city council approval for the traffic improvements and the stop signs, or is it just the stop sign ordinance that has to be updated?
Stop sign resolution
sign.
has to be updated,
Okay.
so
Okay, so we don't have to ask city council for approval to do the improvements, other than the fact that we're amending the stop sign schedule?
no, the rest of the
Okay.
hill blocks view and
It's
all of
just
that, those are
that's
just
it,
standard work orders, and
Okay.
all the stops, the resolution of stop signs need to be updated.
Okay. Do we have
We do yeah.
an oral communication on this
Yeah, we
item?
do have a
Okay.
public comment. And I'm so sorry, it's Mark, and I can never say your last name. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, commissioners and staff. Thank you. I wasn't planning on speaking on this, but as a resident of this neighborhood, I thought I would weigh in really quickly. My wife and I and our two boys, both stroller aged, live just 2 blocks outside of that square that you had on the map. And we were recently attending a birthday party at 4th and Grape, and I can completely attest to staff's kind of comment on the lack of sidewalks combined with the hill conditions create a pretty pedestrian hostile environment. We actually almost got sideswiped with our stroller as we were coming up that street and had to kind of duck into the cars there. So as a resident and local father, I mean, we have friends that live right within that with their two kiddos as well. Very much support any traffic calming measures in that neighborhood just due to the lack of visibility for vehicles and the speeds that kind of cars coming off of those hills. So yeah, hope that's helpful feedback. Thank you all.
Thank you. Okay, do we have a motion to approve?
I would just like to make one more comment, just so it doesn't look bad, but I am for the traffic calming solutions for this area, but I will probably vote no or abstain because I just want to see it broken down more. I just feel too overwhelmed with how much is being presented to us. I'd like to see it more broken down by like each street. I just don't feel like I quite have enough information because there's just so much on this one item.
Okay.
Like I indicated, this is just like the old Escondido neighborhood we did, 10 years ago. So, I mean, it was a comprehensive layout of the whole neighborhood where we put a lot of stop signs in, a lot of traffic sight, lateral speed controls, and hill blocks views. So it was all one package. We didn't really break it down to every street, though. It was presented as is, as a comprehensive package. Just wanted to.
But I appreciate your comments, Commissioner. I think looking forward, if there's, either another section or neighborhood that the staff is going to look at, is it a matter of wanting it broken down more by intersection or looking at more specific cost? Or I guess I just think like, what, once we get past this vote today, what can we look in the future to, to make it more helpful for the commissioners or for staff?
Exactly, and then just that there was also items outside of the block in question, that actually up on Grand and Valley Parkway, heading in to the north there. I just
Okay.
feel that those items were even outside of the neighborhood and more kind of in a business district as opposed to a residential, so.
Yeah, actually, to mention something on that, those were already on the back burner. We just added them as one staff report, so it would be covered in one approval, because that crosswalk was budgeted in the rectangular rapid flashing beacons at the crosswalk was budgeted even before this issue came up. And some of the outside street, like you see Date, the side streets are normally always all stop controlled, and those were missing. As you can see, Date going up, you have the side streets stop control, that's pretty standard. We do that on all streets over the years. If that was missed out, we are just trying to clean up and make sure those side streets are stopped on a main line. Because a through street, as our policies say, don't get basically collectors, like a Date is a collector street. Those don't get stop controls. So we are just doing some house cleaning, making sure that some of the side streets are stop controlled.
Okay. Do we have a motion to approve? I will motion to approve. Do we have a second? Okay. And vote.
Open the voting. Okay, it's approved 4-0 and Commissioner Hatley abstaining.
Okay, item 7, traffic calming on Grand Avenue east of Juniper.
Can you run it for me? Yeah. So we said we were going to bring this item back to commission after our previous presentation on the concepts that we were proposing for Grand Avenue. You can go to the next slide. It was traffic calming that we were trying to do to the downtown Escondido neighborhood, Juniper coming up to Grand Avenue, and then Grand Avenue going east to Valley Boulevard. And we had presented a scrambled crosswalk there. We had presented an always stop. It's signalized right now with the flashing signal. We want to bring it back into operation and trying to do some traffic calming with the angled parking east of Juniper, and just kind of mimics whatever we have on Grand Avenue between the roundabouts now. And we had present funding on this project for $90,000, but some of it includes drainage design also from Valley Boulevard to Juniper. There is no storm drain. There's a storm drain on Valley Boulevard. It daylights back on the west side of the intersection. Then it has surface flow flowing east, and then it goes back into an inlet at Juniper, the corner of Grand and Juniper, really. And whenever you have a 100-year storm, that surface overflows. The bike link gets flooded, so Public Works has to go out, put sandbags and everything. The drainage design will come later to put the pipe in. It'll probably be a reinforced concrete pipe connecting the two inlets underground. But at this time, we are trying to just get the signal back in operation and throw down some angled parking to slow traffic down. The layout is going to be, can we go to the exhibits? The layout is going to be angled parking on the north and south side of Grand Avenue, some parallel parking on the north west side near the park, right there, and then going further east, next slide, we're going to reduce the lane down to one lane, make trap rights at Valley Boulevard and a trap right at Ivy Street, and have appropriate signage to transition traffic out from the trap lane to go through. And then, the transition further back east, next slide, will have signage that tells you to, get out of the rightmost lane if you want to go through. So we will be doing all of this work with Public Works crew to put the signage in, the striping in, and then we will relocate the APS push buttons with the new push button posts that have been installed already on Juniper with city crew on the northwest leg, and southwest leg. So relocate the APS push buttons, put the angle parking in, and then turn the signal back on with new pedestrian crosswalk times. So that's what we're going to do now. There is going to be a future project, phase 4 of Grand Avenue, where it will have a roundabout at Juniper. That's going to happen in the, it might be another year or two before that happens, because the environmental and the design work needs to be done. Consultant has to be brought on board to do all that design work, and then the funding has to be appropriated for that. So that's in the future, but for now, we just want to turn the signal back on and provide the angled parking. And recommendation to commission is to approve the proposal to do all of this work, as we had said we would bring back, the layout of the design. So it's laid out, and then we can just do it with the work order. Any questions?
Can you jump back to the slide showing the main intersection there? So am I correct that on the north side, we have all this angled parking as you approach Juniper, and then we're retaining these 2 or 3 parking spaces right next to the park that are?
Correct. There's 3 spaces there with parking tees in the right turn
Sure.
pocket.
No, I understand that you've got your right turn then pocket for people turning.
Yeah,
Right, Juniper.
it might block traffic if somebody's parallel parking, or if they can
Yes.
slide in.
Right. Yeah, I just think that's, I understand we want, as much parking as we can manage downtown.
Yeah.
But knowing that that's now just a trap right lane, that if somebody's trying, both the end one closest to the angle parking is hard to parallel park into, as well as, holding up that right turn. It doesn't seem like it's necessarily worth the 3 parking spaces to.
So you're
that
proposing to
traffic.
remove those parking spaces? We can always take it out later. It's see how it goes.
was
If the operation blocks traffic, we can always red curb it all.
Right.
All you have to do is take out the parking tees.
Or I wondered about ADA. Are those ADA compliant or not? We
Street
make
parking here is not ADA compliant.
Because of the curb cuts.
It's not handicap parking.
Sure.
For that, you need a lot of acreage to provide the landing area and the striping and all of that. We have a few ADA parking spaces downtown. There's one on Maple Street. There's another one on Broadway now, I believe. Yeah.
Just north, right?
Juniper north of Grand.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So yeah, there are a few spaces on street that we have allowed over the years. But before, it was only the municipal parking lots that would have all of the ADA access spaces.
Or what about short-term parking? There's often 15-minute parking, green curb. That encourages people to use
these
the
are all
angled parking
two-
before the parallel parking, right?
These are all 3-hour parking, right now. That's what the downtown business district wants. It used to be 2 hours, but we had to raise the whole downtown to 3 hours. 15 minutes, there's no shortcut. You would be looking at that if somebody was dropping somebody off at,
Right.
some place. But usually we do not do green parking for specifically to businesses. That is a commission item that was taken up 12 or 14 years ago, that we do not provide 15-minute, because, we had a pizza place downtown that wanted to have pick up and drop off, and then there was a laundromat, dry cleaners that wanted it. So, then other businesses start asking for that. It becomes a huge problem.
I'd just like to add with those parking spaces that we were just talking about, I think they're kind of handy right there if it's possible, if they could be kept, because when the farmer's market's going on,
Right.
sometimes some vendors park there that are selling flowers, and so they're kind of handy there, I think, so.
I mean, if it becomes a operational issue that people are starting to block the right turn pocket, then we can definitely take those spaces out. But we can, see how it goes first. If you don't have a situation right now, downtown business wants all the parking they can get. And if it becomes an issue, then we can say, okay, yeah, we have a reason to remove them.
All of being fairness, as it's mentioned, the chair, about ADA, did you guys do like a study in making sure that the ADA access is within reason with the new parking? Because typically when you do parking, you also have to incorporate a little bit of that ADA. Has staff reviewed that and assessed?
Well, yeah, I think Craig might be able to answer that because I know Grand Avenue Vision Project, on Grand Avenue itself, it does not have any ADA parking, but the side streets do, yeah?
We did do an analysis of downtown parking about 2 years ago. There was a constituent who was very interested in increasing the number of ADA spots, particularly right along Grand. So we did an analysis of about an 8-block area from Ivy down to, I believe, Orange or El Dorado. We found that we had about 800 spots, 800 spots, and we were trying to see how many ADA spots we had in the individual parking lots. And we did find that we were just meeting the requirements, which is 1 in 25. And actually, the rules say that if you have more than 500, it's only 1 in, it's only 2% instead of
2%,
4%. So we actually did meet it, although I will say that even after that analysis, we went ahead and added spots on Broadway. We added 2 spots on Calmia and then those 2 spots on Juniper. So it was good that we had 2 spots every block. And it's worked out fairly well.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I have a quick question about turning the signal back on, and you said we're going to reestablish our previous signal operations.
Mm-hmm.
I know it used to be before all the roundabout and all that it was really tricky to go northbound on Juniper. You would often get stopped at all 3 stoplights at Valley and Grand and Second. Now that there's not stoplights to coordinate with east-west, can we look into coordinating this signal with either Valley or Second to help that north-south?
Yeah, for
traffic
sure.
flow?
So what's going to happen is we are doing the traffic signal master plan. We just got the funds for it. Craig applied for, it's nearly $2 million to get the new controllers into all cabinets, 2070s from 170Es. And the signals right now are not coordinated because AT&T's support has ended and we don't have signal interconnect, so most of the signals are running free. Some might be still running coordinated. If the drop hasn't been lost back to the master controller, but we will put cell modems in every drop location. Basically, they're daisy changed, so there'll be one drop location that has a cell modem and the rest of them that daisy chain to it. And at that point in time, we are going to be able to get all the signals back in coordination. Our management wants to make sure that we work on that in parallel with the signal master plan. So the minute those equipment is put in, we can go back to the new timing plans, new coordinate plans, and turn everything back on. They don't want to wait till we do that and then move on to that because it's going to take a longer time. So that's where we are going right now with that. So yeah, it will be coordinated, by the end of this year. Any other questions?
All right, have a motion to
We do-
approve?
sorry,
Oh,
we
sorry,
have a
oral
comment.
communication.
Yeah,
Okay.
we do.
My apologies.
Good afternoon again, Commissioners. I just wanted to speak to this comment on a couple different notes. Run a local design studio working with both real estate owners and local business owners. And I have several clients along the Grand Avenue corridor there that are very highly invested in our downtown and invested in walkability and safety in our downtown corridors, especially around traffic calming issues and parking. And so on that note, I want to thank staff for presenting the diagonal parking as a solution for calming traffic. I think that's going to be really helpful and also help with, I know there's constantly debate between whether we have enough parking or not, but regardless of where you land on that debate, I think it's going to satisfy a lot of the local business owners. I have a couple concerns around the signal reactivation. I know the main intent is to calm traffic heading into downtown from kind of the Palomar Heights property and coming down towards the west. My understanding of signal reactivation is that would actually create platoons of vehicles that now accelerate between phases, so kind of work counter to the calming measures that we're implementing with the diagonal parking. So that's something that I would just love to see the commissioners discuss, or maybe staff discuss with the commission. Also, too, I know this is kind of like a stopgap measure until the roundabout goes in. The funding has yet to be identified, so I don't know what the timeline is on that roundabout going in, whether that's 2 years or 5 or whatever it might be. I will comment that I have been working with Love Esco over the past year on activating the Heritage Garden Park site with additional play equipment. We have been in conversations with the city manager's office since June of last year, and it's going to be presented before council in May, hopefully for their approval for us to proceed with Love Esco to fundraise for those park improvements. And I don't know, I have a webpage that kind of shows a graphic of kind of some of the proposed design interventions at the Heritage Garden site. So you'll see we're proposing a concessionaire kiosk in the gazebo where we see currently a lot of homeless activity at night as a way of kind of like a SEPTED measure there, and also just activating the DG with some play equipment. One of the concerns is, I don't know where timing is going to line up with either the roundabout or with a park project should council seek to approve it in May. But given Public Works has presented a lot of concerns to us around obviously increased, child activity in an urban site. And so, they're requiring a lot of safety requirements on our end inside the park, obviously so kids don't escape into the traffic. But I think part of the concern there is, I would love to see maybe an engineering answer to that as well in terms of continuing to calm traffic there. And I feel like a all-way stop is a great intervention currently at that intersection for slowing traffic so every vehicle slows down, as opposed to having this reactivated signal. So that would be my note there, again with the caveat that council has yet to approve this. They're looking at approving hopefully in May should everything go through. But thank you, and also happy to answer any questions.
So I may add for the commissioners, the way it's operating right now, what's happening is whenever a car comes up and it's stop controlled, and they're waiting for their turn because somebody else is at the intersection to proceed, what happens is people walk into the crosswalk and, the car is tired of waiting for their turn and they don't wait for the person in the crosswalk and they just proceed. So it's kind of making a regular driver angry, waiting for the person to get, across again because they already waited and now somebody else shows up and then have to move. So it's kind of making the drivers angry, and it's not operating, the way it should be. They should be yielding to the pedestrian in the crosswalk, so it's becoming a bit of an issue there. If you go and sit and watch how the intersection is operating, you'll see that people are not yielding to the people stepping into the crosswalk. So if you were to have a pedestrian phase back in operation, then you have to wait, and then you have whatever queue that's built up flush out.
Just like to say I really appreciate Mark bringing that up. That was an excellent question. And I was kind of wondering, I thought maybe it was because it was the only flashing red intersection in Escondido, people considered an oddity. What's this? And then, but yeah, that does make sense what you're saying about maybe a little confusion and pedestrian right-of-way. I can understand that, so.
Yeah, and it looks like, the signal is broken, and it's been broken for 5 years. And I talked to the businesses around there, and they were like, yeah, we'd be happy for you to turn this thing back into operation. So it's something what the Downtown Business Association and the businesses, they wanted to be back in operation. Obviously, it's going to go back into flash whenever the farmers market is there, because that's the traffic control for it. But during the rest of the week, it's going to be in operation.
Am I correct that we can't currently do essentially the scramble crosswalk because of how the signal's wired? Like, that's not an option at this moment?
Well, at this time, the city management were not too conducive. They were rather like have the roundabout go in the next year or two. I think what they're trying to do is reallocate or shift the funds from the phase 3 to phase 4.
I see.
So it may happen sooner than expected. It might be in the next year and a half to 2 years that you could put the roundabout in. So to spend $80,000.
So rather than spend money, right,
Yes,
to do the
spending
scramble,
$80,000 for a
and then-
scramble
sure.
for like a year and a half doesn't
Sure.
sound too good.
Any other comments or questions? No? All right, do I have a motion to approve?
Motion's approved.
I'll second.
I'll open the voting.
And it's approved 5-0.
Okay, that's the last item on the agenda. Am I correct, Ali? You have some just staff updates
Yeah, there's some
for
oral
us?
presentations. We wanted to, I can start with one about our consultant selection, and then we have one from Ashley to give an update on Fifth and Juniper improvements that we're going to do there. So the city put out an RFP for consulting services for on-call traffic engineering. That's, design and signal timing and all of the land development work that goes on for plan check and so forth. Most of it is handled in-house, but some of it, the overflow work, will be farmed out to a consultant. We had 11 consultants that submitted, and we picked the top 5. There were a few more that didn't submit correctly, so they were disqualified. So we have 5 consultants that we are working to get our workflow in, scope of work to each one, and allocate funds to that consultant and do their agreement based on what we are going to have them do. We have 5 consultants. We have Michael Baker, we have Stack, we have HR Green, we have Kimley Hahn, and Rick Engineering. The last 2, Kimley Hahn and Rick, well, let me put it this way. Michael Baker, every consultant have their own specialty. So, Michael Baker might be updating our LRSP, which they have done before, and our signal priority list. STC Traffic gives us support on traffic signal operational issues and hardware fixes and signal timing, and some design work. And HR Green and Rick Engineering are going to help us support all the crosswalks and everything that the CAT program is going to require to be done by the end of the year, the 1.9 million that's allocated. So most of that is for construction, but a portion of that, and about 300,000 would be for the design work of all those crosswalks and quantifying, the bid and the quantities that you need for the cost estimates, and then getting the bid documents together. And then, so that's how we're going to split the work. So HR Green and Rick Engineering are going to assist with that. KHA, they have done a lot of signal timing in the city of Escondido. They did the Center City Parkway, and twice really over the last 15 years. And they're really good at signal timing. So we may be having them do all the corridors that we need to get updated, like Bear Valley Parkway or Center City Parkway, El Norte Parkway. So we'll parcel all these, different tasks out to different consultants. So that's how we are going to do our work plan for the rest of the year, because City Council wants traffic safety as a high priority, and all of that is going to be distributed out this year. So it's going to be pretty busy for the traffic staff over here. We are trying to still also hire a traffic project manager. And so once we get somebody on board, that'll be an assistance for us. Other than that, Juniper, and we can.
Before Ashley presents on Juniper and Fifth, may I present 2 updates?
Sure,
Ali?
go for it.
First one being the Zlatibor and Bear Valley traffic signal. So we have reached out to the developer's consultant, and they are working with us to develop solutions in terms of providing advance warning for the signal going southbound on Bear Valley Parkway. So that's still being looked into. And then second update, so another project that staff is working on is our HSIP 11 signalized intersection safety upgrades project. So this one, we did release an RFP just last month. We did get back 4 proposals, and we have decided to move forward with STC Traffic as being our top qualified consultant. So again, this project is our #1 project within the city's local roadway safety plan. It's going to provide a couple improvements to 12 signalized intersections here in the city. Those improvements are going to include new controllers for leading pedestrian interval, new retro-reflective yellow backplates, new signal heads, signal lenses, new ADA push buttons, and then updated traffic striping as well, including high visibility crosswalks. So a very good project that we're looking to start design very soon, and then hopefully go into construction later this year or early next year. So thank you.
Do we, on the agenda? Okay. Okay. Report. Because we can't technically then discuss it or take action because it hasn't been. Okay. Sure. Okay. Sure. 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 Because if a member of the public wants to ask a question or comment, either didn't know or couldn't be, right, okay. Okay.
So I'm going to make that call, and then we'll just, we can have a special meeting, we can do whatever we need to do. I just don't feel comfortable right now.
We can carry it to the next commission
Okay.
meeting. That's not a
Okay.
problem.
So we can stay on the next agenda. Sure. And usually there is, right. Sure. Okay. Okay, so we can add Ashley's presentation for Juniper and Fifth to the July meeting agenda, unless there's anything pressing, but, okay. Sure. Okay, yeah. Sure.
Well, Grand Avenue and Juniper is item 7.
That's Grand Avenue east of Juniper,
Yeah.
right. Right.
Should was spliced out, some of it was on. It could
Right.
have been on here as a presentation, but it's not. So
Right.
I've already did that and the results of that before, and then now,
Right.
I don't know,
Sure.
I'll let it off now, but just so that.
Yeah. Absolutely. Thank you for keeping us honest and legal. Correct. They are able to come. Correct. Okay. Sure. Right. Okay. Then Ashley, we'll look forward to your presentation in July. Okay.
Yeah, so it should have been there. If it was part of this, we would have discussed, talked about the regulated after the presentation, or if it was a separate item, we would have it separate. And your report should be as like a staff report. But you voted on this, like, yeah, so like now you're like talking about.
About a different intersection. Right.
It
Okay.
makes sense, probably more like,
No.
right, like the cover.
Right. Right. Which I think we used to have. Right. I think it used to be in the. To have. Right.
Yeah, it's like, you're giving a presentation.
Right.
Not just an update or whatever.
Right.
But I'll make sure the updates are back
Okay.
on there, so Polly or whatever staff has an
Opportunity to add that. Okay. Okay. A follow-up question we also, I think, used to have on there before adjournment was basically just traffic commissioners, if they have anything to address. Can we still do that? Okay. I know we can't take action on it, it's just bring it to, okay. Okay. Update or, okay. Whichever, okay. So I guess that would be our next.
We have usually oral updates at the end. It's not there.
Yeah. Okay. Do any commissioners have any other items to bring staff attention?
Well, since you brought it up, I brought this up like a meeting or two ago, that newer signal light at Fig and El Norte Parkway. It's still a super long wait to make the left turn from westbound El Norte Parkway to southbound Fig. And you have to actually usually wait until the cross traffic at Fig goes, that there's enough traffic there to trip it, and they go, and then finally that left is allowed to go. So if some attention could still be given to that signal light at
Fig and El Norte.
El Norte Parkway and
We'll take
Fig,
a
in
look at it.
particular the left turn from westbound El Norte to southbound Fig.
We did go and take a look at it. We updated the signal clock, which was slightly off, and we'll go back and observe it.
I was wondering if staff had an update as far as the old Escondido, the street lighting on Juniper, which I know had been turned off because of resident concerns. I think the last we had heard in February, you were waiting on some like globe shields and special bulbs. I didn't know do we have an updated timing on when those might be turned back on?
I have to check
Heading
in with
towards
Matt.
Cruising Grand and.
We'll check
Yeah.
with Matt because he was in
Okay.
charge of with South Coast Lighting. I believe they have the new dimming equipment in,
Right.
so they are able to dim them down to like 20 watts or something from what it is. I'm not sure exactly when they're going to turn it on. Yeah,
Okay.
we can bring an update back.
Okay, yeah. I just keep getting questions from neighborhood residents and neighbors. When are they being turned back on? Okay, if there are no other questions,
In the last meeting that we had, there was again, a community that brought up slowing down traffic, and we talked about that quite a bit extensively in this meeting. And after that last meeting, I did a little research, and there was a product, they also brought up about a speed bump to slow things down. And so I did a little research, and I found there's a product out there. It's from Europe. It's called ActiBump. Has the staff ever heard such a thing? And what are their thoughts with that? It's basically it's a mechanicalized device that fits in the road, and it has sensors on it. It detects what the speed of the person or the car that is going through, as well as the type of person. If it's a police officer or emergency vehicle, it remains the road flat. And if it's somebody speeding that's not supposed to, the actual plate that's in the road drops out, and it creates a bump. And then it makes a pretty good bump to the car. And also, part of that information is being tracked. Again, is how many people are following it. And I'd like maybe staff to look at that if it's a possibility for when we talk about traffic calming. Thanks. It's called an ActiBump. It's
ActiBump.
ActiBump.
A
And I
sneak
think
atta-
in
a sneak
Sweden,
attack, a sneak.
Sweden.
It comes up or it goes down when you're speeding. I don't know. I've seen it, but not in the U.S. I've seen that overseas. Yeah.
In Sweden when I saw it.
Yeah.
It's a unique product. Oh, wow. It's a bit pricey, though. I think it's $15,000 US.
Yeah.
The whole system.
I've seen an article on that. Yeah.
Fascinating. Okay, no other comments or questions? Our meeting is adjourned.